In downtown Phoenix, in the studios of Arizona PBS, a plexiglass barrier wasn't the only thing separating Republican Senator Martha McSally and Democrat Mark Kelly. The two put their differences on display Tuesday night on a variety of issues facing the nation, starting with the president's handling of the pandemic.
Mark, do you agree with the president's decision to ban travel from China?
Yes, but Senator, you would understand this as a pilot. You guys did step one of the emergency procedure, and then you didn't do anything else.
They clashed over when to confirm the next Supreme Court justice.
Let's be clear. The Constitution says that the president gets to nominate and the Senate gets to confirm. And all 19 times in history, when the party has been the same, they have moved forward with that.
Kelly, meanwhile, criticized McSally's record on health care.
And Senator McSally has worked incredibly hard over the last 5 years to eliminate or undermine protections for pre-existing conditions.
The former fighter pilot also went on the attack, accusing Kelly of being too soft on China and coining him a new nickname.
It's just another example of counterfeit Kelly.
She ended up on the defense when pressed about her support for the president, or if she did enough to stand up for the late John McCain, whose seat she was appointed to fill.
I've publicly and privately repeatedly talked to President Trump and asked him to stop attacking John McCain. Quite frankly, it pisses me off when he does it.
Later in the debate, the candidates offered contrasting views on border security, climate change, and police reform.
When police officers are found that there was serious wrongdoing, there should be an accountability aspect to that.
He said he would support allowing criminals to sue police officers simply for doing their job.
While McSally characterized Kelly as too far left, the retired astronaut tried to cast himself more toward the center.
Partisan politics has made this crisis worse, and partisan politics and partisan politicians are not going to get us out of it.
What's certain are the polls that have him ahead of the incumbent who used her closing remarks to challenge Kelly to another debate.
Let's do 3 more of these around Arizona, because Arizonans really deserve to have this conversation candidate to candidate.
But the clock is already ticking with early voters who will make their choice ahead of November 3rd about who should represent Arizona during an unprecedented moment in our country's history. I was among the moderators at the Senate debate this week, along with KJZZ's Steve Goldstein and Yvonne Winget Sanchez from the Arizona Republic. My thanks to both of you for being here. Let's get right to it. We've had some time to reflect. Steve, what do you say the headline is now?
Well, I think the headline has a lot to do with two things. One is I would go with Yvonne's line of questioning about pre-existing conditions, because that has been such the flavor of the month as far as ads going. Can we trust Martha McSally? Can we trust her to protect us when it comes to healthcare? And number two was Senator McSally's continued use of counterfeit Kelly. When we talked last night after the debate, we talked about how it seemed a little bit Trumpian, that maybe it was a little bit out of character for her trying something different there. And the joke is, how many times did she say it? And at what point, even if it's effective for a little bit, at what point does it diminishing returns? And it seemed like we got there pretty quickly.
Steve, are we going to hear counterfeit Kelly here in the next 3 weeks as we inch closer toward November 3rd?
I think it has to be, Lorraine, only the base on that one, because I think the impression we got from independents, and obviously we're going to some extent by social media, emails we've all received, but it sure seemed like unless you were definitely in the McSally camp, that got old very fast. And it also seemed, frankly, disrespectful in a debate that I would think all three of us were somewhat encouraged. At least there was some discussion of issues. That's the one part where it seemed like it just sort of went off track. I don't think that gained a whole lot of traction. Certainly not. I don't think we'll be seeing that in an ad. Let's put it that way.
How is this one going to be remembered? Because many of us are still talking about 2018 when we saw Martha McSally with Kirsten Sinema. I mean, where will this one go down in the history books?
Look, I think both sides came to do exactly what they wanted to do. Martha McSally was extremely aggressive out the gate, but not so aggressive as she was in 2018 that overshadowed, her more substantive policy issues. Mark Kelly wanted to go in, come out, not go viral, slow and steady, be consistent on the issues, be disciplined on the issues, and not give independents and moderate Republicans whose support he needs to pick up a reason to vote against him. I don't know, as Steve said, that this did much to persuade any sort of independent, undecided voters. But I think both feel very good about their performances last night. I think that each side walks away thinking that they won the debate.
Ted Simons, of course, pressed Senator McSally so many times about her support for President Trump. And as you mentioned, 2018, that was one of the things we all observed was how closely aligned does she want to be with the president? If she had run in 2016, maybe it would have been good for her. But as we're getting further and further from the president's electoral win in 2016, this is a real tough one. And she seemed to really try to thread the needle as much as possible with support of his policies without support of the man. So that really stood out to me.
Did this debate, I mean, the polls will come out, there's already been one, but did this tighten the race at all?
There are so few undecided folks out there. And as we know about independents, yes, there are so many party not designated in Arizona, no question. But in many cases, these are folks who are unhappy with the Democrats or unhappy with the Republicans, and maybe because they want the Democratic Party to be more left or the Republican Party to be more right. There's a mishmash of that. If, let's say, if we're being generous, 5 to 7%, maybe people are really undecided. I think Yvonne made a great point in that both candidates went in and did what they were tasked with doing. Whether voters think they did it well or not is the question, but it seemed that they followed their strategy.
Expect to see clips from the debate night rolled out in a way that really tries to connect with independent voters, pretty nonpartisan people who want their kids to go back to school, people who want to make sure that their parents and their children are healthy, people who want to keep their jobs. How do those people react to that sort of messaging? And, we don't live in a city that has seen a lot of protests in the streets right now over racial and social injustice. We don't see the same sort of activities that are roiling other cities. And so I just am not sure how effective that sort of play is going to be when you're talking about reaching these crucial voters in the suburbs of Metro Phoenix that are just really concerned about the kitchen table issues.
All right, because we were there and only a few select people will know this, but immediately after the debate, when the candidates left the stage, there was a lot of hooting and hollering. Both sides think they won this, and we're not going to ask who you think won, but where does this take their campaigns here in the next few weeks? Yvonne?
So if I had to say who won, I really would say that the audience won. I say voters won. I think that was a substantive debate. I thought that for 90 minutes, the audience really got to see these guys interact on a level that they had never seen before. We learned some new things about each of them. And so I think, just as a journalist and as someone who cares about the process and the institutions of media organizations like ours and our role in this process, I think that we did a very big service to voters. And I hope that if they didn't get a chance to watch, that they will get to. I don't think we can say beyond that who won the debate in terms of the candidates, but I do think that the fundamentals of this race remain the same.
Now, we all wanted more debates. At the very end, Martha McSally used her closing statement to put Mark Kelly on the spot, and he dodged it. Will we see another one? I mean, is there some false hope that we could have here in the next few weeks?
Don't count on it. I mean, if they wanted more debates, they would have agreed to more debates. And Mark Kelly's campaign has not agreed to more debates. And he is running from the same playbook that Kyrsten Sinema ran from in 2018. She agreed to debate Martha McSally one time. She then showed up in person, pre-COVID, obviously, to do a candidate forum on Spanish language TV. And that is the exact same strategy that we are seeing Mark implement this year.
All right, real quick, if we have time for it, we have two very accomplished candidates. I mean, they're combat veterans. One of them's been to space. The other one is the first woman to fly in combat. I mean, how closely can the average Arizonan connect to these two?
Lorraine, this is a fascinating dynamic to me because it begs that question of what's the old adage about who would you want to have a beer with? And it's funny because there's that dynamic of especially when it comes to the Senate, and I would even think the president, that people want to have someone they can relate to. And Yvonne made great points about these are two obviously members of the community in Southern Arizona. But do we also want someone who is better than we are, to put it in sort of a strange sense? Like these are people who are making huge decisions for the country. We hope they're making them thoughtfully and putting everything they have into them. So that's where the sort of that, if we're looking at the weighing the scales, yes, we want people we think are great human beings and are just like us, but we also want them to be a little bit better. So that's where that relation question for me comes in. Like the expectations are, yeah, you're just like me, but gosh, you were an astronaut or you were a fighter pilot, and that was amazing. You're the first female to do that. So I'm trying to weigh the scales on this one. I think they're both important, but we also sort of want to have people who can achieve something maybe we can't as individuals.
Right. Okay, and it takes a special person and a wealthy and connected person to run for the U.S. Senate. I mean, that's been obvious.
Yeah, so you're not running anytime soon then, I guess.
All right, we'll leave you there waiting and wondering about that. My thanks to both of you in moderating the debate and, of course, for this analysis. Steve Goldstein from KJZZ Radio in Phoenix and Yvonne Winget Sanchez from the Arizona Republic. My thanks to you for your work as well.
Thanks so much.
Nice to see you, Lorraine. Bye.